Imagine this for a brief, okay? So the brief is 2020, and you're asked to relaunch Aston Martin, global automotive brand icon, into the sport of Formula One. The pinnacle of international motorsport, the elite, the best of the best. Okay? What a brief. What an absolutely fantastic brief. And in a way, so simple as well. It's an ultra luxury brand, Aston Martin. It trades on exclusivity. $250,000 average price point. In 2020, the average age of an Aston Martin consumer was over 50 years old. 90% male purchasers of the brand. If anything, the brand direction of Aston Martin Road Car Company is moving even more towards ultra exclusive, ultra luxury. Okay? Now let's have a look at Formula One. This sport is the exclusive sport. It even celebrates the fact that there is a proximity gap between those that have and those that have a little bit less. By the way, those that have a little bit less represent 1% of fans that can actually ever go to a Grand Prix. The Paddock Club, $15,000 a ticket, is the most exclusive experience that you can get in sport. This is the easiest brief in the world. You take an ultra luxury brand and you put it in the world's most exclusive sport. This ain't going to take long. In terms of brand design, what a simple brief. However, when you design any brand, it has to start with a core belief. Okay? This is our belief. We believe that sport has the ability to change lives. Okay? First and foremost, I'm a fan. Okay? I'm a fan of football, more so than Formula One, and my team is Birmingham City. Okay, that bit wasn't a joke. But now on Friday, I don't get a lot of time off from work. On Friday, I'm going to choose to spend my day at Queen's Park Rangers, standing in the away end, drinking the worst beer that you'll ever get hold of, probably watching Birmingham City lose. Okay, but sport is bloody brilliant. You know, it has the power to take you on this thrilling roller coaster. You know, some you win, some you lose, or in the case of Birmingham City, some you lose, some you draw. And, you know, it's this amazing, thrilling experience of sport. It brings people together. It has a really powerful position in society. And we believe that sport has the ability to change lives. If you speak to these people who came to one of our I Am fan engagement events, they talk about it being the best experience of their life. We also believe, if you extend that further, that from a societal perspective, you can really make a positive mark and impact in tackling some of the societal norms or creating a new agenda for society. This is an image of Miami Gardens, just down the road from the Formula One circuit. These kids have an amazing experience when we take a Formula One car and a Formula One driver into their world. You know, it's a very, very powerful platform to change society, sport. So here's the problem. The lift and shift of this ultra luxury brand into the world's most exclusive sport doesn't actually work in that kind of square peg into a square hole, because our brand belief is that sport has the power to change lives. So our brand belief ultimately informs our brand vision. Yes, we are the desirability of Aston Martin, because there's something very special when Aston Martin shows up. But we want to be an inspirational brand as well. We want to inspire through the platform, okay? So our brand belief has shaped our brand vision. Now, the way that plays out is through substance. And the way that you take that and you bring it to life is everything. It's all right to have clever brand strategy, but what you actually do is what you get measured on. So It's the way we brought that to life which we are most proud of. Why do we do it? Everything that we do from a marketing point of view has a commercial imperative, okay? Now, let's be a little bit more crass and get away from our belief from a societal point of view and start talking about what's the commercial imperative of doing this. First and foremost, we grow a fan base. So Aston Martin Formula One team rebranded a team that already existed in Formula One called Racing Point. It was a low-level team, didn't have any fans really at all, relative to the ambition of Aston Martin F1, which is to be a top 4 Formula One team. In fact, to be a winning Formula One team. So I had to try and build a fan base. And the way to build a fan base is to appeal to a wide range of fans globally. Okay? So not just in the UK, yes, we're British, but we want to build a global fan base. And this, being a team that engages fans and has a great inclusion agenda, helps us to build a fan base. The second imperative from a commercial perspective is that we are here to win. Win on the track, win off the track. We know if we are a team that appeals to a global, diverse audience, it helps us to attract a global, diverse audience. And we know and we believe that a diverse workforce is a winning workforce. It's going to help us win on track. Okay? And there's work to do in Formula One around this. There's not enough diversity in the sport, but we believe if we have an inclusion agenda and start to be outwardly facing, it's going to help us build a diverse workforce that gives us competitive advantage. And in terms of Formula One, about 2/3 of our revenue that we need to go racing comes from our commercial sponsorships. The other third comes from TV and prize money. Now, we don't sell tickets. We don't have a stadium. It's nothing to do with the team in terms of the tickets. We have a retail business, but it's marginal compared to your big football clubs. So we need to get commercial sponsorships in. One of the ways that we attract sponsors, like Cognizant, which is this event behind me, is to be relevant and to have things like an ESG platform that you can activate on. So we take our driver ambassador, Jessica Hawkins, into a Girls Start community. We talk about STEM in Austin, which is where this was, and it's an ESG platform that enables Cognizant to activate its ESG agenda on in a way that's meaningful, which is so important. So it helps us grow the fan base, it helps us to grow a diverse workforce, and it helps us to attract commercial sponsors that want to activate. It makes commercial sense, but it also makes sense from doing the right thing based on our core belief. So we design the brand vision based on a brand belief, and that gets us to the brand positioning of the most inclusive, exclusive brand in sport. Now, we're all marketeers and we're all itching at the paradox that's on the screen in front of us. It's okay, be comfortable with it. I won't take credit for this. Kate Dalton, who sat in front of us, is our head of brand and marketing and brains behind the operation. Kate came up with this, and it was on about attempt 10 that I finally digested what it was that Kate was suggesting. The most inclusive, exclusive brand in sport, a brand that blends desirability with inspiration. We are still Aston Martin. When we show up, we're Aston Martin, every single brand touch point. But we invite people in on the journey. We have an inclusion agenda. We care about fans. We believe in the power of the platform and of sport. The most inclusive, exclusive brand in sport. That's an interesting brand positioning, and it's underpinned by pillars of humanity, progress, on and off the track, and of course luxury. Okay, so I said we get measured on what we do, and this is all great from a presentation point of view, but let's just have a quick glimpse into what we mean by an inclusive, exclusive team from a fan engagement and an ESG agenda.
Alone we can do so little, but together we can achieve so much. And rather than standing in the middle, remember without you there is no us. Let's make a mark. We drive positive change through both our team and our sport. Our actions speak louder than words, everything else is just talk. Let's push positive progress for our people and our planet, creating resources and opportunities for those who don't have it. Partnering with organizations who are more than willing, wanting to do this. A global community that consists of a diverse tribe, filled with change makers and pioneers that keep our dream alive. Both young and old working together, standing side by side, birthing ideas for generations until the end of time. A step in the right direction to reduce our carbon print. Small seeds that grow trees, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Environmental accreditations was where we really had to think. But in our sustainability circle, it's made the strongest link. They say teamwork makes the dream work. So ask yourself the question, how much are those dreams worth? We've already made the start. But together, let's make a mark.
Brand belief that informs the vision, that informs the positioning, that manifests in real action and real substance. Not the square peg into square hole that you would have expected from an ultra-luxury Aston Martin team. And I tell you, it was not easy to sell this in at a CEO and chairman level. I nearly didn't make day one of my job, which would have been a fantastic record, because it wasn't what was expected, but it was what brought a growth in fan base, the right workforce, and will attract commercial sponsors. So there was a commercial imperative to it, as well as being the right thing to do. There was also the ability, not just once we've designed the brand and sold it in at an exec level, but thinking about how do we take that out to the world. Now, we're in a very fortunate position where we show up every single day, whether we want to or not. People are writing stories and tweeting about Aston Martin as we speak. But what do we actually do proactively to get our message out there? And we did a partnership with TikTok. An official partnership. You see the TikTok logo on the Aston Martin F1 car. Imagine selling that into the business, that this platform that became famous through people kind of miming their own videos, all of a sudden is linked to the Aston Martin brand. But it's an amazing partnership. And it's an amazing partnership because we can reach out to creators, and through what we call the I Am program, we invite them to come in and co-create our story with us. We just facilitate. We give access to behind the scenes of the team. We put a show car in the studio and say, create some content with it, do whatever you want. We're facilitators, and we're inviting people in to co-create our journey. That gives us access to this huge audience out there. Part of that audience is the audience that's been attracted in through Netflix, Drive to Survive. By the way, 55% female audience in the US are new fans through Netflix, Drive to Survive. So we need to be a team that has a wide-ranging appeal. Before I was at Aston Martin, I was at McLaren, and I remember doing some fan engagement and some research. And I spoke to a young black female who described her experience of going to the British Grand Prix at Silverstone. And it was not the kind of thing you want to hear. She felt alienated and she didn't feel included. Okay, there's a lot of work to do to make sure that that inclusion agenda comes through in our sport. And we proudly have started with our belief, that vision, the positioning, and partnerships with the likes of TikTok and showing up on Netflix, and what we do every single day on social to change the game. That's what Aston Martin Formula One team is all about. Now, when I spoke to the organisers and they asked me to come and do this talk, they said, can you also touch on personal brand development? A topic of which I know absolutely nothing about whatsoever, which is quite scary when you're standing in front of some really brilliant people who work in the marketing industry, and I'm going to speak to you about personal brand development. So I went away and researched it and did a bit of homework and thought, how the hell can you stand out from the crowd? Because it's really important. It's really important because the personal and professional value that is attributed to an individual is based on how you present yourself to the world. And why is that important? If you're looking to get into a board level position or you're looking to take the next role, these things really matter. Whether or not you have done anything proactively to shape it, you have a personal brand. If you Google yourself, there's things out there. I have a personal brand. I've been quoted in press releases, I've done talks like this, I've done podcasts, I'm on LinkedIn. I've got 6,000 followers on LinkedIn, which is okay. I've got 165 followers on Instagram. It'll be 166 if I accept my mum's follow request, which I'm not sure about yet. But I'm out there, you know, I've got a personal brand. And it came to the question of, we spent 6 months going through a really clear process to design the Aston Martin Formula One team brand positioning, vision, belief, positioning, pillars, the brand houses. We've all been there, we've all done it, then you've got to sell it in, then you've got to bring it to life, then you create the partnerships with the likes of TikTok to help it really come to life. And yet, how many of us have actually spent that time on our own personal brand development? But when you go for that next opportunity, or when you're speaking internally or at events like this, it's bloody important. And the more I've researched it, the more I've come to realize that that strategy and that structure of how you build a corporate brand, which I'm sure we've all done, if you apply it to yourself, there's a lot of logic and a lot to be gained through that. So what is your belief? You know, what is your purpose? What does make you stand out from the crowd? How are you positioning yourself different to the person sat next to you? Because, you know, a lot of CMOs, head of marketings in here, what are you actually doing to make yourself stand out and give yourself that competitive advantage? As I say, we spent so much time designing our corporate brands, but we haven't really done the work internally for ourselves. There are some brilliant examples out there. The most obvious, Kim Kardashian, okay? Now, Kim Kardashian became famous overnight for something which I'm not going to talk about on stage, but I'm sure you all know. Kim Kardashian, if you speak to a young female, is a role model. What she's done to reinvent her brand is amazing. She's very respected now as a figure in business. What an amazing brand design, and probably one of the best examples of designing a brand and reinventing a brand to be relevant. Richard Branson, I guess the relatable billionaire, you know, the guy that's built up fortunes, but he's more relatable because what does he talk about when he's out there in the public domain? He talks about growing up with dyslexia. Okay, inspirational guy, doing some amazing things, but he's very relatable as a human being. And by the way, the Virgin brand, very human-centric, I guess is an embodiment of Richard Branson. Talk about an embodiment of the brand, a guy that's got a fantastic dress sense. I'm not sure whether this guy embodies Apple or whether Apple embodies himself, but he's all about simplicity, you know? He's all about beautiful, clean thinking. It's such an amazing place to get through, where you can just cut through all the shit and get through to the clean thinking, what you're actually trying to achieve and what are you about. What a fantastic example of somebody that embodies his brand. Finally, a guy that a few of you may recognise, Ian Wright, played for a small club in North London called Arsenal. You may or may not have heard of them. Ian Wright, celebrated goal scorer, played for England, scored a load of goals for England as well. My mum knows who Ian Wright is because he's been on Celebrity. So he's been out in the jungle. He's a Match of the Day presenter, but he's also the face of a new podcast in sport called Stick to Football, which is an amazing podcast that's getting a load of new followers. So, in line with how we've designed our brand to get out there, use our network, use the likes of TikTok, Netflix to expand our reach, Ian Wright's a great example of somebody that's used his network to get out there and expand his reach. So, what are you doing to stand out from the crowd is the question. Fernando Alonso is an exceptional example of someone that's the oldest driver in Formula One. He's our driver, but he's an expert on his own personal brand. He's learned over the years how to manage brand Fernando. He's an exceptional racing driver, but he's also an exceptional brand ambassador. And the way that he projects himself and presents himself is an example. Now, I guess, what's the takeaway? You can take the theory of corporate brand development and apply it to yourself. And over this process of preparing for today, I really have come to believe it and come to learn of the importance and the value of doing so. And I would take the time to look at your corporate brand, look at your own personal brand. Can you design it in a way that makes sense? Now that's all of the theory. Let me just finish by telling you about my personal brand. Now I grew up in a working class town just south of Birmingham, hence the football team, and did really well at school and college, came away with some straight A's that could have got me into Oxford or Cambridge. Didn't do that, sacked that off, played snooker instead, made sense. Played professional snooker for 4 years, and then came to a crossroads in my life and career where I was either going to continue to do that, or I was going to pivot and get into the real world. Not that working in Formula 1 is the real world, by the way, but you know what I mean. Sat down with my sister, who worked in marketing, and said, I'm in a bit of trouble here, what do I do? I've kind of gone off the straight and narrow in terms of where society thinks that you should be. And she told me about this thing called copywriting. I'd never even heard of copywriting. So I did the logical thing and set up my own copywriting agency that became a content marketing agency and did really well. Got fed up of chasing unpaid invoices, so went in-house and led marketing for a few different businesses until I found myself at HomeServe, which is a home emergency insurance company. Now, it felt a natural transition to go from insurance to Formula 1. So I had a phone call one day from McLaren, said, will you come speak to us? Asked me to go down there and present. When I turned up with more of a dissertation than a presentation, and I really, really, really fucking wanted that job. I gave it everything, and I won that job, okay? Worked at McLaren for 8 years, left McLaren. It was the most famous and biggest fan base, well-supported team in Formula 1. Hadn't won a race for 10 years, so that was hell of an achievement to build up McLaren to get to that point. But the day I went into McLaren, I talked about fan engagement because I am a fan, and I believe sport has the power to change lives. And what we did from a fan engagement point of view, we've now extended out into Aston Martin. Again, it's a slightly different brand, it's got a slightly different positioning, but the true crux of sport has the power to change lives has stayed with me. That's what I believe in. And it might not be right for everyone, but that's me, okay? And my purpose is clear, my determination is clear. I want to win with every brand that I work with. And that's just me. And I think if you can take one thing away, it's that authenticity, okay? So whether you're designing your corporate brands or your professional brands, it has to be authentic, okay? Because the real you and the ability to get the best out of you starts with really knowing who you are and what you really believe in. Hope that's helpful. Thank you very much.